Replaceable either. I do. Yeah, fourth wall down. Hello. Thank you all for coming tonight to celebrate Patrick Leo Nugent. He's so dear to all of us, and it's time to honor him and how he's been so giving and good to us through our lives. It's a chance for us to remember him and keep him in our hearts so he stays there. Because love is what this is all about. So I was going to, be super prepared and write everything, and I thought, no, hey, come on in. Bob, get over here. Bob Hildreth.
Always a guy.
So you're going to hear a little bit more from Bob a little bit later. So thank you, those of you that are going to contribute to this evening. And also, if anybody feels inspired or you want to share something, this is casual. This is not a strict structure. So if you get moved about something and go, I want to share something, it's absolutely okay, all right? So let me get started. I just want to make sure I'm respectful to everybody and the time. I would like Teresa, she is Mark. I'm so used to saying Mark and Patrick. She's Patrick's lovely niece, and we ended up being friends, and we feel like we're sisters from different families. But I asked her, we talked about her coming up and speaking a little bit to kind of just lay the foundation of Patrick's beginning, and then Janine, if I'd like to go into the slideshow after that, and then we'll see how things go. So please welcome Teresa Henning. That's right.
Hi, everybody. I'm Teresa. Everybody here seems to call him Patrick, but we always called him Uncle Pat. And the first time I said Pat, I think Angela didn't know who I was talking about. So I'll probably be I'll try to remember to say Patrick, and I don't know if I can go through without crying, but I'm going to try. And I don't have anything prepared. I'm just winging it. So Patrick was born in California, and his family moved around a little bit, but they finally settled in Bemidji, Minnesota, which is a small town way up north in Minnesota. We grew up in the suburbs of Minneapolis, and it was cold, but Bemidji was colder. And he had two sisters. His oldest was Mary Ann, and everybody called her Duff. We seem to be big on nicknames. And then my mother was Catherine, the middle child, and everybody called her Catter. And then Patrick came along later, so the youngest and the only boy. it was quite amusing because the two sisters, even as they were adults and older, gave Patrick a lot of grief because he was the favorite. And it was true. I had the pleasure of going down memory lane with Patrick a couple times in the last 5 or 8 years or whatever. We would go see all the gravestones from when he was 6 and all the greats and up to Bemidji and the colleges and everything. And he would tell me, he remembered, he had such good memory. I was like, I'm a little bit younger and I don't remember anything about St. I went, and where was I going with this? Oh, okay, so Duff, his oldest sister, had 5 children, and my mom, Catter, we had 3 children. My brother, Brian, is over here too. And so when you see pictures on the slideshow and he's surrounded, Janine's like, there's pictures where he's surrounded by kids. I'm like, that's all the nieces and nephews that he had. He didn't visit all that often because he was out doing amazing, what seemed like exotic adventures to us. We were, small town Minnesota, and he was in New York, learning. He went, let's start at the beginning. He went to Bemidji State College for a little while, then he switched to the University of Minnesota. He played piano at a strip club in Minneapolis. He had some stories about that were pretty colorful and interesting. And then, let's see, what did he do after that? He played at different theaters around Colorado Springs, but the war came and he got drafted. This was World War II then, and he didn't want to go to battle or anything, so he signed up to be a chaplain's assistant. And so what he did was play the organ, which was a perfect fit. They were happy to have him. And that's where he met Mark, his partner of many, many years. He was also a chaplain's assistant, which I didn't know to begin with, but for a rival church. And Mark was the head of the choir for this other chaplain, and I guess they had competitions and all these things. And Patrick did share that at first he didn't care for Mark that much. And those of you who worked with and for Mark at the dinner theaters might understand some of that. But then they got closer, and it was a good partnership for them over the years. So he also, what did he do? He went to New York to study piano then, and then he got a job on a cruise ship for a while. And he played for the singers and stuff, and then he switched to doing tours on land. And he went everywhere. And he would also, this was back in the day when almost exclusively it was seniors who cruised, way back when. Cruise ship, I shouldn't say cruise, that's a whole different meaning, isn't it? On the cruise ship, he would dance with all the old ladies, and he was so charming, and I think some of you have seen him in his tux, right? I would have danced with him. And then he would go all these places, Africa, and I don't even remember, India and Norway, everywhere, and do these cruises. And so that seemed very exotic to us, and he would send us or bring home gifts for us. I still have a little fine china teacup that was, I always thought it was from Ireland, but he told me just a couple of years ago it was from Italy. And I also had some wooden castanets from Spain, which my family was very happy that I had. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot to mention a funny thing about Patrick growing up. He taught himself to play the piano. They had not much money, but his maternal grandmother, or grandfather, died, and his grandmother moved to town up in Bemidji and had an old upright piano. So they inherited the piano. He taught himself to play at 12 and drove them nuts, playing the same 3 or 4 notes over and over again until they were just going to go out of their minds. But so he was self-taught, and then later got lessons, like I said, when he went to Bemidji State. So he was a fun uncle. He was pretty quiet. I think when he came home, I didn't really get to know him as an adult until later, after my mom died, and then he and I got closer because we didn't have my mom as a conduit for information anymore, so then I got to know him as an adult, and it was so wonderful to have that time. But so they did the cruise ships, and then he came back, and they were in New York, and they were each, Mark and him were each doing their own things. There was a break-in at his apartment, and he got stabbed, actually, it was like a drug ring or something, and that's when they decided to move to Florida. Because that's where Mark's family was from, and after that crime or whatever, they decided to get out of New York and move down here, where they opened the Mark I Theater in Lakeland. And I think there's a lot of veterans from the Mark I and II days. How long was the Mark I open? Do you guys remember, Angela?
83 to 87.
Okay, 83 to 87, and then they opened the Mark II in Orlando, and they were trying to run them simultaneously, and I think there wasn't enough
That didn't last.
patrons to go around, so then they closed the Lakeland Mark I and just concentrated on the Mark II. And how long did that go, Stephen?
Well, it opened in 86 and it went till 2002, was
Come on
it?
in.
Yeah,
Okay.
2002.
Okay, so that was a long run. There's a lot of playbills out on the table there from different shows. We couldn't even spread them all out because there were so many. So we would come down here and we would go to the shows, and it was very exciting, and it was warm. So that was nice. Am I forgetting anything, Brian? My brother, Angela?
Court reporting.
Oh, court reporting. He did that in there too. That was that was while he was in New York, toward the end, and when he first got down here. I know he did some court reporting in Lakeland also for years. So was that at the same time as they were doing the Mark I?
It was before.
It was before Mark I. Okay, court reporter.
Yeah.
Since his fingers were already nimble. I know he could do 120 something or 140 words per minute or something ridiculous when I was typing 30. He was, let's see, did I forget anything else? The court reporting, and then Trinity Prep, which I know there's a lot of people here from there, and Janine will fill in more details about that. I know he loved working here. He did not want to stop working here. He was 84, I think, when
Right
COVID
after the
hit.
pandemic,
Yeah, and then he stopped, but he loved it. And I said to him one time, do you miss the school? Do you miss Trinity Prep? And he missed the students the most, he said. Because he told me one time, I said, do you have any regrets? Oh, I'm going to cry. And he said, not having children, which was also my regret. So I told that to Janine, and she said, well, he had hundreds of children. And another interesting thing he said one time, I was saying about what a great career he had had, and he kind of looked at me. I don't know if he goes, I've never thought of the word career. I think he thought you had to be a CPA or something to have a career. I said, are you kidding? You had a great career. And we went back through everything again. This was just a couple years ago, like I said, when we were doing our trips down memory lane. And so he was mulling that over. So I hope that made him feel better about things, because to me it was a very exciting career. I worked in an office for 40 years, and sitting in a cube, not so much a career. Not that fun. So he had a great career. I thought it was very rewarding. So that was, another thing I want to say is how grateful my brother and I and my cousins who are watching the live stream back in northern Minnesota, most of them, how grateful we are to Angela, and Janine, and Stephen, and Jackie Pappas. I don't know if any of you know her. She couldn't be here tonight, but she's also very helpful. And I refer to them as Patrick's Florida family. And for the last, I don't know, when he had his heart attack, Janine was here for him, or his heart surgery. But it was very hard to be so far away and take care of him. And they were here, and I don't know what we would have done without them here to help take care of him. He got to stay home, in his home, a lot longer because they were here. Angela was whipping up homemade soups and stuff for him, and Stephen was schlepping him to many, many doctor appointments for the last couple years, and so we are eternally grateful to them. So, does anybody have any questions? There won't be a quiz or anything. But, okay, so thank you very much.
We're going to see if technology
I did forget to thank our incredible musicians. I didn't introduce them or anything. I just kind of came in. Beautiful, beautiful way. Thank you so much. Gosh, watching all that, whew, it's amazing. I'm trying to think, the first time I met Patrick, it was 1980. I was 12, no. No, I was 59, 69, 79, so I was 21, I guess, and doing a production of Carnival in Winter Haven, and I met Mark and Patrick. It was my first introduction to them, and I was invited to come and audition for them in Bartow, Florida, for the community theater that they had started there. So, and I did, and that began our relationship and the mentorship that they became so valuable to me for 35, 40 years with my life and my career. Patrick, I thought he was a gangster. That, because he didn't talk a lot, and he would play at the piano and would help me with my music, but he always had the cigarette sticking out of his mouth and playing the piano, and I knew he had gotten stabbed in New York, and so, and I was completely wrong, but that was my first introduction to him, and for so long I had all those cassette tapes that he had made for me. I never could read music, and he was so patient with me, and I know others, to help us with our musical careers, and I kept those cassette tapes for a long time because that was such a part of him, and then finally I moved recordings onto my phone, and I would still go to him years and years later, and he was probably at Trinity, and I would go, can you pound this out for me? I have this audition coming up, and he would never take money, so I would bring him coffee or chocolate, and that became our relationship. And so for me, and I know for many that knew them back in the day, that was an era that I feel like is gone now. And so, we feel that with our parents. When our parents pass, it's like, I'm not the daughter or the son anymore. Now I'm an adult. And it was that way now with Patrick's passing, that time period is now gone. But we have these beautiful memories to share with each other. So speaking of some fun memories, I asked Carol Puella if she would share, because we have a lot of funny stuff too. Yeah. So let's lighten this up. No, I'm kidding. So I asked Carol to speak of incident, just anything that she wanted to share from the Mark I. And so she came up with this great incident. So please welcome Carol up here. Okay.
But Mark always told us how to project, so it doesn't matter. We didn't have those microphones back then, so I'm going to go ahead anyway. I wanted to say, any of us who have had the good fortune to do live theater, you've experienced things like missed cues, missed lines, missed entrances, missed props, but if you were very, very, very lucky, you had Pat or Patrick Nugent at the piano taking care of you. No matter what happened, and boy do we have stories, you knew you were safe because Pat was there. Now, Showboat was the second show at Mark I, and that was the summer of 1983, way back when. Now, for those of you not familiar with the Mark I Dinner Theater in Lakeland, it was in a basement. Yes, there are basements in Florida, and we did a lot of shows there. Now, there was the basement theater, and there was the piano bar lounge area upstairs that we'll also talk about. To get to the theater, there was this impossibly steep set of stairs that the audience had to come in. We just panicked every night that somebody was going to fall down the stairs. They'd sue us, we'd be out of business, but so far so good. Now, the stage. How do we talk about the stage? It was small. It was small. Because, as an example, for Showboat, all of the women had 6-foot hoop dresses. We borrowed them from Cypress Gardens. Anybody that knows about Cypress Gardens? We couldn't put 3 women with the hoops. Somebody always had to be a little upstage, or, you'd like crash into each other. That's how small the stage area was. Now, backstage or stage left was great. There was the costume area and the, makeup area, and everything was back there. And then there was stage right. There was no stage right. There was like this much room. You had to kind of maneuver. You had to pull up your hoop, walk backstage, and then get over into stage right. Still had to hold your hoop because there was no room to put it down. So here we are, opening night of Showboat. Opening night, we're all excited, full house. Okay. We had a boat, the Cotton Blossom Showboat, that would glide on stage at the opening of the show. Don't get ahead of me. So there were, I think, 6 of us that, were stage right, jammed together, and we were going to make our big entrance. Oh, the Cotton Blossom is coming, all of that stuff. Now, a couple of the guys were there to push the boat on stage. Don't get ahead of me. So, Pat plays the overture. Oh, we're excited. We're all jammed in there. It's opening night. And the ensemble comes on, and they're singing, oh, Cotton Blossom's coming, and the Showboat's coming, and we're going to have a show. The boat's not moving. The boat is not coming on stage down to the dock so that we can open with Showboat. So Pat plays the opening number again. We're all back there. He's probably thinking, where's that darn Cotton Blossom?
We know he wasn't thinking darn.
Well, I knew there might be students there. So I crossed off darn. Or I crossed off. So anyway, we're all back there. He plays it, he starts the second round of the opening song, and we're like back there, what do we do? I don't know, what do we do? Oh, Mark's gonna come back. And, what do we do? I did to walk on stage. I don't know, we're walk over to the dock. So that is how the opening night of Showboat happened. The 6 of us jammed back here with no boat coming on to the stage. Just said, okay. Well, Cotton Blossom, here we are. Drop the hoop, ready to do the show. So that was one amazing memory. That was my first professional show at Dinner Theater, and that's how it started. I'd also like to mention the lounge upstairs, because a lot of times after the show, the cast, some of the audience would come upstairs, and Pat would sit at the piano. And we all tried out new songs. We had the songs we always liked to sing. Sometimes audience people would, request something. And I'll be darned, Pat knew every darn song in the world. And if one of us was gonna, I think I can sing that, he'd have it in the right key. He'd have it in the right tempo. He would just play along with you, even when you forgot the words. And almost as much as doing the shows, those hours up in the lounge were as special as doing anything else. And that's all because of Pat. So way back in the old ancient times of the early 80s, we had a great time doing shows at the Mark I. And I understand it's still, it's not a theater, but it's like an entertainment space now, still in Lakeland. How about that? So, Angela, thank you. Thanks for putting all of this together. And that's my story.
That was great. And then we start thinking of all the other memories about that stage right and stage left. It was crazy. I'm going to change the order a little bit of what I had told Rachel. I want to move into with Stephen, if that's all right. Sure. And Kathy. I just think it's a nice segue from the Mark I. So please welcome a dear friend of mine and everybody, Stephen Flaw, part of the village that took care of Patrick.
I first met Mark and Patrick in December of 1985 when I auditioned for them for Brigadoon. And I'd just come to Florida and I was very nervous. This was like one of my first professional equity house auditions. And I was back at the piano, not knowing that Patrick was the musical director. I just thought he was a piano player there. And he had I asked for 2 copies of my resume and he had it there. And I grew up in a little suburb of Minneapolis, Wayzata, Minnesota, Wayzata. No one knows how to pronounce it unless you're from Minnesota. And he was looking at my resume and he was like, "Oh, you're from Wayzata." And I went, and I fell in love with him right there. And some of my favorite memories of him are what Carol was saying in the lounge. I remember going out and buying a bunch of sheet music. This was back at the Mark I. And one afternoon I stopped by the theater and he was there and I said, "I have some music, do you mind going through some of this with me?" We sat in the lounge for 3 hours going over all this music, and it was the best voice lesson, vocal coaching I'd ever had in my life. And he was always so supportive of me, and Mark and I had a very tumultuous relationship, as so many of us did, and had a falling out. But Patrick always still loved me. And I asked him finally when I was staying with him for these last couple of years, when I was helping him out, and I said, "You know, why did you keep on being friends? Because I'd seen you not be friends with people who Mark didn't like." I said, "Well, I could see both sides." And that just made me feel really good. He was such a blessing to all of us and helped so, I mean, watching the slideshow, how many lives he touched. But what I would like to do is sing a song that was one of the songs that I sang at that first audition. And he used to play for me up in the lounge. When it all comes true, just the way you planned, it's funny, but the bells don't ring. It's a quiet thing when you hold the world in your trembling hand. You'd think you'd hear a choir sing. It's a quiet thing. There are no exploding fireworks. There's the roaring of the crowds. Maybe it's the strange new atmosphere way up here among the clouds. But I don't hear the drums, and I don't hear the band. The sounds, I'm told, such moments bring. Happiness comes in on tiptoe. Well, what do you know? It's a quiet thing. A very quiet thing. I love you, Patrick.
would like to invite Rachel to come. Where are you, Rachel? Here. Rachel wanted to share how Patrick affected her and her life, and please welcome her up here.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I graduated from Trinity in 2017, and I knew Patrick from doing theater here from when I was in middle and high school, and I see some of the people out here that I did theater with, and I'm so glad you guys are here. We got to see each other. When I think about Patrick, I think about how much we all learned from him, even when we didn't realize. And I feel like I didn't fully appreciate all of it until I got to play alongside him in the pit for musicals starting in 2015. And I feel like I really got to see him as a person and a friend when we started making music together. My favorite was probably Peter and the Starcatcher, even though I love the musicals where we got to like jam out and be a rock band. That one was my favorite because it was just the two of us, and we played some music, but a lot of it was just literally us making sound effects. So we had to be like really involved and in tune, and I think we nailed it most of the time, but sometimes it was just, we didn't quite hit it. But after playing with him for so many shows, he taught me how to just laugh it off and keep going. But the one I wanted to talk about was Godspell, because that was the first time I played drum set in the pit, and I had never played drum set in front of an audience other than like chapel music. So I was super, super nervous. And every show it got a little bit better, but the nerves like never fully went away. So my favorite part of the show was Beautiful City, because that was the one song where I didn't have to play anything at all. I literally just got to sit there and watch Patrick to my right play the most beautiful song and just take in his natural ability to accompany a singer. And I looked forward to that song every night because I could just relax and listen to him play. So now I'm going to play the piano part for Beautiful City, and I'll be trying so hard to play with even a fraction of the artistry that came to him so effortlessly.
You can move all of that, just shove it over, it's fine. You can shut it even, it's fine.
her phone number so I can have another pianist. Can you play some auditions for me? That's beautiful, Rachel. Thank you. Where's Jimmy? Jimmy Mitchell, where are you? Would you like to?
If I get up.
Jimmy Mitchell, also from the Mark I and the Mark II, and did a lot of musical theater, and we're winging it. And I said, just come and speak and share something.
She asked me to sing, and I was like, I'm old, I can't do it anymore. And after hearing Stephen, I was like, oh no, I'm not singing. There's no way. I was 19 when I walked on the stage of the Mark II and auditioned for Mark and Patrick. I had my sheet music, and I went up to Patrick and I gave it to him. And I stepped back, and I was like, hi Mark, it's nice to see you again. He was like, James, you came. I said, just call me Jimmy, that's what everybody did. And he called me Jimmy from then on. And I had met Mark prior to that. We was doing the Most Happy Fella at the Country Dinner Playhouse, and he stepped in as an emergency replacement for our Tony. And he went on with hardly a rehearsal and was just perfect. And I was like, I want to work with these people. And I came over, and like I said, I gave my music to Patrick, and I sang The Impossible Dream for my audition. And Mark was like, wow, that's a big voice coming from a skinny kid. I'm not skinny anymore, but I was like 6'2" and 150 pounds. So like, I was skinny. And I walked up to Patrick to get my music, and he goes, next time you sing this, tell the accompanist you do it in 4/4 time. And I went, what? And he goes, yeah, you did. He goes, you slipped out. And I was like, how do I keep the tempo? And he goes, just move your foot just a little bit so nobody can see it. Just keep the beat. And I was like, I said, okay, and it works. And The Impossible Dream is my signature song, was my signature song. I sang it for everything when I auditioned for anything. And which brings me to a story. The last show that we did together was Kiss Me Kate, and was my second show, I believe, at the Mark II when they brought it over. And when I had moved into stage managing, and Patrick was the musical director, and I was Mark's stage manager, and I had a good teacher. So I said, if I can do it like her, I'll be okay. And he had cast the roles and everything like that. And I went to Patrick and I said, okay, and knowing that the show was like their full circle out and my full circle in, it was a wonderful experience with me. And I got to choreograph a couple numbers in that show. And one of them was Tom, Dick, and Harry, which me and Angela and Stephen did, and in the original one. And then I was also in charge of the two gangsters. And one of the gangsters was one of my proteges, and one that I took and said, I'm going to coach you because I know you can do this. I know you've got it in you. I know you can do this, 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 and this. So, going on, they sold the theater, and it went on, and they were going to do West Side Story. And I was like, oh. And I went, Sam, his name's Sam Little, some of you know him. I said, you have to be Tony. I said, you just have to be Tony. I said, I will work with you vocally, help you. I said, I will teach you everything that Patrick taught me. I said, we'll get you over a break or whatever like that. So we worked, and I had called Patrick. And I said, can you come in? And like everybody said, he never said no. He would make the time and come in. I said, would you come and play? I said, I want you to hear Sam sing. So he gets up there, and we walk in, and Sam goes, you call Patrick? And I was like, yeah, why not? He goes, I don't want to sing now. I was like, no, Patrick, he's going to do this. I said, he's going to do it. So Sam sang Something's Coming from West Side Story, and turned around and looked at me. He goes, you know what you're talking about. And I was like, oh, it had come full circle again to me, because everything that Patrick taught me, I was able to teach Sam. And Mark and Patrick knew me vocally as a 19-year-old and brought me up, and then got me through mental breaks that I had of like my G was my passing note, and I was like, I can't sing it. Well, we'll just lower it down a third and you'll be okay. Well, I know music, I can read music. So, and by then we were on tracks, so it was like, we'll just lower it down. And I was like, I sang it the next day. There was like, the new track's there, James, you're gonna be just fine. I was going full guns. I was like, yeah. I said, I sound pretty good. I said, I got through that number really well. And 3 weeks later, they were like, we never changed it. And I was like, oh my God. And Patrick was like, gotcha, you know. But he was such an incredible person, and he taught me so much, even like vocally. And when Mark wasn't around, he taught me, and it was great. And like I said, I don't think whenever anybody said, "Do you know a piano player?" and I was like, "Yeah, I know a piano player," and I said, "He's probably the best one I've ever heard in my life," and that was Patrick Nugent. God bless you. I miss you. I will miss you. And on a closing note that even just touched my heart even more was when Mark had passed away. I was doing company up at Alhambra Dinner Theater, and Angela called me. I don't know how she got my phone number, but she did.
Oh, I will find you.
And she says, "We want you to come to Mark's memorial, and we want you to sing." I said, "No." I said, "I can't do that." I said, I will die." I said, "I can't do it." And she was like, "Yes, you can." She goes, "Patrick wants you to sing The Impossible Dream." And I was like, oh my God. And of course, Patrick was there. I turned, and there he was, and I nodded to him, and he started, and I sang, and at the end of the number, I was a blubbering idiot. I lost it, but what made me feel good was that Patrick asked me to come and sing, and that's a bond that we have shared, and I will miss him. And thanks for allowing me to say something. I would sing, but no. I don't think I could get through it, but and it's so great to see all of you again. I live on the east coast of Florida, so I don't get over this way much. But to see all of us, I said, I'm just, COVID 50, fat and sassy. So that's it. I love you all.
For those of us that know Jimmy, we know we have to be careful when we ask him to do things because he cries. He's a crier. So. Thank you. It was beautiful. Some memories that we have.
And I didn't cry.
No, you didn't. You were very good. So I want to share a little bit. Patrick, towards those last 2 years where we were his village and keeping an eye on him, he would share a lot of interesting things. And one thing I discovered is that he was a liar. And Janine, I shared this with her a little bit. Patrick, he would lie to us when it's very funny, but he would lie to us when we would invite him over for Thanksgiving or for Christmas or a special event or whatever was. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, of course you did, because you were in Minnesota and couldn't tell anybody. But and I thought that was so Patrick. It wasn't to be malicious or mean or anything. He was just a very private person, and he was fine. He just didn't really celebrate holidays and just had his life, and he liked to play his piano in his little piano room and his routine. And so he had life set up for all of us. And so it could be Jackie Pappas, "Oh no, I'm so sorry, I'm visiting friends in the villages." And he really did have friends in the villages, but he wouldn't go visit them. And then he would have to tell.
And then hide his car in the garage.
Right.
If anyone went by.
His car, yeah, he put it in the garage so nobody would know. But he had different lies for all of us of where he was visiting somewhere else. And so he had to keep all that straight. So I thought that was pretty funny. That was just so Patrick. And but I told him I would keep his secret, so I let it out tonight. And, but the other thing was really funny when he was little. You saw those pictures of him in those little overalls and stuff, and I could so see him doing this. He would be sent on a trip through the farms to go get milk. Well, he loved milk. And so he would get the jugs of milk, and then he would stop in the field and lay down and drink like one bottle of the milk and just lay and just lay and look at the sky and just love the milk. So I don't know if Mom ever got milk or like he lied and said he dropped it. He could have been lying again. It's pretty funny. And then the other thing though, but he was known for keeping secrets because he was the little brother, and these are the stories I found out later that his sister Duff, this cracked me up, he knew the secret that she was in nursing school and she didn't want to be in nursing school. And so she came back home and told her mom and dad that she couldn't be in nursing school anymore because she was pregnant. And needed to come home and get married. Well, it was all a lie. She was not pregnant, and so she just wanted to get married to her beau. So they got married, and then they had to figure out what happened to the baby. So that lie continued, and I guess after some time passed, there was just this tragic loss, and they don't like to talk about it. So that was a secret that he had kept with his family. But who lies about being pregnant? It's usually... So I got tickled about that. And that was way back in the day. So that was, big secrets back then. So I thought that was very funny that he was sharing some of those stories. But his memory was incredible about sharing things. He, and I believe Teresa has it now, it's a box with photographs from his school. And there are all these black and white single photos. I guess that's how they did it.
It was a graduation photo.
Graduation photos. So it wasn't a yearbook. They're all separate. And he knew every single person. And we would go through them and go, oh, this is Jeffrey, and he did this and did that. And he knew every single person. It was just incredible that memory of that. So I wanted to read a couple of passages that some folks shared, and then Bob and Geraldine, I'll invite you up after I read these two passages. One is from Jonathan Levy, or Jonathan Levy, depends on where you're from. These are his words. I thank you, Patrick. You were always the calm and patient, musically gifted presence for me at the Mark II. In 1987, you really took time with me to teach me my songs in The Boyfriend, and you encouraged me to come back for another show, and I did. In 1990, I knew none of the music from Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, and you instructed us very well until we became confident. Cabaret in 1994 was easier for me, but I still recall how you consulted with me on my solo, how I felt comfortable singing it before you made the audio track. You are missed. You are remembered. You made a positive difference in our theater world, and I know the many groups of Trinity Prep students hold you in their hearts, as do I. Dance in joy and light. Reverend Jonathan, as in Navy. This next passage is from Mark's sister, Bonnie. She unfortunately couldn't be here. She had a family commitment. She wanted to come, but I told her I would read this for her. My earliest memories of Pat, not Patrick, of Pat, began in Colorado Springs, where my brother Mark Howard started the Pam Pam Dinner Theater in Ute Pass. Pat had partnered with Mark as the musical director and pianist. The cast consisted of 11 boys and 5 girls, plus Pat and Mark. We all lived in a house together for the summer. This is where I met my husband of 61 years. We rehearsed most of the day and performed at night. It was lots of fun. Patrick was then, as he was in his entire life, the most patient, calm, talented, generous, and loving man. I did not realize then that my brother and Pat were a couple. After the time in Colorado, they moved to New York, and Patrick coached some very famous people while Mark was auditioning and being a waiter. They had an apartment in Manhattan and lived there for a long time until they were mugged, which we all know that story. So they then moved to Lakeland, Florida. Pat became a court reporter, and Mark got his license in real estate. My family, Ken and 4 children, would go to their home on the weekends to swim in the pool and have dinner with them. Patrick always made French bread right out of the oven. So good. We know about the baking, don't we? I know. He later became the dessert chef at the Mark I and the Mark II. Their adventure continued at the Bartow Performing Arts Council, where Mark as director, and Patrick was the musical director. This led to many wonderful musicals which enriched our town so much, and I can attest to that in Polk County. The next big adventure was the opening of the Mark I in Lakeland, Florida. We loved the food and the musicals that were presented there. It was a huge and hard job to put everything together, but they did it. My favorite part was the afterglow, which was upstairs in the lounge, where we all sang our favorite songs with Patrick at the piano. He could play anything that we threw in front of him. The birth of the Mark II brought Patrick into the world of taping the music for the shows. He spent hours working on arrangements and making everything as close to Broadway as possible. I remember him practicing for hours on the piano. After the Mark II closed, Patrick took the accompanying job with the school, Trinity Prep, which turned out to be such a blessing in his life. I forgot that at one time he was a cruise entertainer and director. What a man, exclamation point. So much talent, but as humble as they come. He was a brother to me, and I loved him. Love, Bonnie Allen. It was beautiful. So continuing with our dinner theater journeys, with Bob Hildreth and Geraldine O'Mahony, two amazingly talented folks, are going to come and share, and Kathy's going to play for them. Please welcome them.
This is when I was supposed to be out here.
Don't you start rapping.
I've got to move that because I need more room now.
You stop it.
Everybody's been talking about what a magnificent musician Patrick was, and he certainly was, but Patrick is the reason I am married. I don't even remember what show I was doing, but I was doing some show at the Mark II. In those days, there were zillions of dinner theaters, and some people only worked on the West Coast, and some people only worked on the East Coast, and some people went up and down, and I was lazy, and my car was really terrible, so I wasn't going to drive distances. But he said, we're going to be doing 110 in the shade. This is your role. You must come audition. So I auditioned, and I did play Lizzie. And Lizzie's big song is Old Maid. And I thought, oh, you're right, Patrick, this is my show. Now, those of you who worked at the Mark II know that there were photos in the green room. And I knew him long before I met him. I had never met him, never seen him in a show. But when you walked out of the women's dressing room, there was this person. This insane man. Who is that, and what is the matter with him? And do Mark and Patrick hire him because there's something wrong here? Petruchio, come on. He was wearing tights. He looked hot. He had no teeth. Anyway, I did finally meet him. We did a show together at the Alhambra up in Jacksonville, and we became friends. And then I was working again at the Mark II, and Patrick came up to me one day and said, Mark and I were going through the old file cabinet, and I have something for you. And he hands me a headshot, and I, thank you, Patrick. That's nice, thank you. I'm looking at it. And Patrick goes back to what he's doing. Why is he giving me a headshot of Jack Jones? And when would Jack Jones have auditioned for the Mark I? Oh, well, no, wait, it's Larry Hagg. It's Bob Hildreth, who I worked with up in that is very presumptuous. What is he thinking? Oh, maybe he knows something I don't know. And indeed, he did. And we married, and we are married still. This is the last show we did at the Mark II.
Still, the way I love you, still.
Beautiful. Titanic? Is that from Titanic?
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
And you know what? That's when Mark went to recorded music, and Patrick laid down the tracks, and it was still brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, that's true, because they would work on it as performers and figure out those beats and the timing, and it was incredible what they did. Yes, yes, all of that. So as we went on with Patrick and helping him, what happened couple of years, 2 years ago when he fell down, Stephen called, and he'd been living there. He would stay with Patrick when he was in town for auditions or working, and so it was a good fit to have a friend with him. And that's when Patrick first had become ill. He had a really bad infection, and so that's when we started forming the village and started making sure he went to those doctor appointments, and we could see that his health was starting to fail a bit, and still stubborn and still strong, still riding that bicycle. Took forever to get him to wear a helmet and to bring a phone with him, and so then we started noticing some words were missing when he would speak, and some cognitive issues, and so we discovered that his mental health was failing a bit, and so our intention, and we always included him with this, and he was very aware. It wasn't like he was completely gone from us or anything, but we said we really want to keep you safe. That's what the most important. And we want to keep you in your home as long as we can, absolutely. But then at some point, it does become too difficult for friends who have no medical training or anything. So, but he was involved in all of the decision making, and so we would take him to his Dr. Pinheiro, and Dr. Pinheiro was so good with him and loved him, and so we went to this one visit, and Dr. Pinheiro felt that he needed handles in his shower. And so that's where I'm going to bring in my husband Russell to share. No, because so what happened was he wasn't quite agreeable to that. So Teresa and I were at the appointment, and we got to hear the F-bomb nonstop from Patrick. And so we're like, okay, well, what about a chair? Maybe, we're just trying to be respectful, just so he didn't fall down in the shower. And so he finally agreed to a chair. But I think, I'm trying to remember how did he tell you about what happened?
Because Dr. Pinheiro suggested the bar.
The bars on the
in the shower.
Yeah, in the shower.
And Patrick said what he said.
He said, I am not going to have any bars on my shower. And we went, okay, now, all right. So it was one of the battles that we were willing to lose. And we had to choose our battles with him because he still was independent and he still needed to have his voice. And we all agreed with that. And that's how we were able to keep him home for as long as we could. He was not in his home for only a month. And so we were very grateful for that, that we could keep him home for as long as possible. The things about Patrick, and all through our relationship, when he would help me and I would, bring him soup and breads and pie or cake, and because he loved those sweets. But at one point he said, why are you doing this? This is too much. Why are you helping me? And I said, do you not realize that you have helped me for almost 40 years? And you have given and given and given, and so let me give back to you. And because it wasn't about money, it was about love and about caring about another person. And that's where my heart was, and for all of us that had him in our lives. So I said, this is the opportunity where I can give back to you the way you gave to me. And so that's how I got through those 2 years with him and our battles. There was one I will share where one of the first times that we saw the mental issue, he was going to eat completely molded avocado. And it is funny. And it was the first time that he really was going to battle with me about food. And he's very frugal, grew up very poor. So he had these avocados that were molded all the way inside to the pit. I mean, there was no way, there was nothing good. You know how you'll try and cut something off and, and it was bad. And I said, hey, I can't let you eat that in good conscience. I cannot let you, I'm gonna make avocado and guacamole. I'm like, no, he's not. And so then I said, Patrick, please don't. And he told me that I needed to stop being naggity. And naggity. So that's my nickname now in our village. And I had steam coming out my ears. And it was the first time we had had a little battle like that. And I went, fine, okay. And so I grabbed the rest of the avocado that he didn't see, put it in a bag, went in the bathroom, put them in a cabinet. And I came back out, and I said, hey, I'm going to run to Costco. You want me to pick you up some avocados or anything? Yeah, that would be great. Could you do that for me? You got it. So we figured out how to maneuver. And it wasn't often that happened. And 99.9% of the time, nothing like that happened. But once in a while, that would pop up. And he was such a stinker. So please feel free to call me Naggity from now on. So Janine has some beautiful things that she wants to share, and please welcome the one that put all this together and got us all moving and grooving.
So everybody was talking about dates. So it was somewhere in the 80s, and I was busy having lots of children. So dates got all mixed up in my head, but I think it was 87 that it was because I worked for them Once Upon a Stage, and Once Upon a Stage became the Mark II Dinner Theater. So I think it was the second show that he did that I started doing shows with Patrick and Mark. So when I needed a accompanist here, I was talking to Jimmy. And I needed someone who was good with kids. And Jimmy said, Patrick. And I said, Patrick is a professional. I would never ask a professional to come into a school and work with kids. He might not want to do that. So I approached him and he said, we'll see. And he said, what would I be playing on? And I guess the whole thing, he hated keyboards. He hated keyboards with a passion. He came in and he saw a grand piano, and that was it. He stayed. So, okay, so this part, I'm going to switch to my little paper. So when he came to Trinity back in 2005, he instantly became a grandfather figure and mentor to the hundreds of students he worked with. He regaled them with stories and advice. He made huge contributions to their learning and development. I'm going to sing a song, so I need Miss Kathy. This song is one that Patrick played for me for one of our yearly cabarets here at the school. But instead of the verses, I'm going to read the thank you notes that were written to Patrick by the students and a couple by the parents. So some of you guys might recognize your own words. These are just a drop in the bucket, but I think capture the essence of what Patrick did and the legacy that he left. Patrick, thank you for always being there for me. You gave me the score for Rhapsody in Blue when my father died. You taught me so much more than just piano. You taught me to always be kind, patient, and caring, to take life in stride, to relax and just roll with the ups and downs, to sit back and just listen. Patrick, every word that comes out of your mouth is a lesson. It never really stops. I think of you all the time, and I take your teaching wherever I go. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me spin stories as I hold court in my chair. Let me knit yards and yards of yesterdays together round my knees. And woven in the pattern is the message, I was there. Patrick, you are a musical genius. Thank you for always helping me improve both vocally and musically. I loved working with you in the show. We are so lucky to have you, and I don't know what we'd do without you here. Thank you for sharing your great musical talent. Patrick, you are so incredibly talented. Thank you for making this show beautiful. Patrick, you are awesome. Patrick, you are simply the best. Thanks for everything. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me quilt memories, every one a vibrant square. Each one a friend I've known and cherished, or a love I've won or lost, and embroidered in the blanket is the message. I was there. Patrick, you are a wonderful part of our theater family. Patrick, you're our hero. From Jesus Christ Superstar to now, you have been a wonderful mentor. Patrick, you're my favorite person in the world. No lie, I love you. Patrick, you play beautifully. Theater at Trinity would not be the same without you. Patrick, your music continues to inspire and astound. Thank you so much for your dedication. Patrick, thanks for a great experience. You make us sound great. Patrick, outstanding music and direction as usual. You're our hero. Patrick, as always, you're a miracle worker. Mr. Nugent, thank you for all the care you give our kids. Thank you for musical directing the girls. Their first experience in the pit was awesome. We enjoyed your mad piano skills. Patrick, thank you for all your hard work making these performances fantastic. You are so talented. Let me grow old, let me grow wise, let lines of laughter crease my eyes, let me hold children as they clutch my wintry hair. Let me knit yards and yards of yesterdays, so when the last comes round, I'll take the yards and yards of yesterdays and lay them on the ground. And in some faraway tomorrow, when my cast-off scarf is found, unwind it and you'll find there is a message. I was there. Patrick made more than just a difference. Patrick made a lasting impact on the audiences, designers, technicians, actors, musicians, and everyone he came in contact with.
Please welcome Mr. Brian, a nephew to Patrick. Yes.
Thank you very much for everything you meant to Pat. When the lives he touched that we've heard of through the theaters and the dinner theaters and everything else, but then the lives of the Trinity students, that came along at a point in his life where he, I don't want to say he was lost, but he needed something, another guiding thing, and this school was that. And you could tell right away when he would come visit and talk about Trinity and working on the music and stuff, he hated the recording part. He did, because it was a keyboard at his house, and he hates keyboards, but he'd be at the piano would be there, but he would have to do it on the keyboard. And he would talk about, and have to record all this and put it all together. And yet, it was a tremendous amount of work, and yet he enjoyed it. I mean, that was his driving force. And I just want you to know that it meant a lot to him, and it was great to see him enjoying it so much. We're going to miss him. He was a very humble person. You know, with a talent like that, there was no ego. You didn't see, you just didn't. He would come and tell us some of the things he did in New York and on the cruise ships, and we'd see the pictures and hear the stories, and yet very humble, and, you know, just that's what made him so special, is that he gave all the time and loved his work, and you could tell that, and I think everyone could feel that, and yet expected nothing in return, and was a very humble man. And we learned a lot from that, I think. Stubborn, very Nugent. I always called it he's being Nugent, really Nugent now, because our mom was that. I mean, they were very close. They were closest, I think, of the three. And they would both be very Nugent with each other. And when our mom was towards the end, she was like Patrick was, very Nugent. And so,
You were nagging.
yes, nagging, that's right. We didn't have that, Nugent, nagging, it's the same thing. So hearing this stuff is like, yeah, okay, yeah, we get it. Thank you so much for doing this and making us a part of it, because it, you know, you sit there just listening and it's quite moving. So, thank you.
I did want to make sure if there was anybody that wanted to share anything that you didn't get excluded. Okay, just wanted to make sure. That will conclude our official gathering. Also, just so you know, there's programs out there from the Mark I and the Mark II, and if anybody would like one, if there's a memento that you'd like, please feel free to take it. I also thought about Darla, who is part of the Mark II family, who had that tragic fire and lost all of her programs, I believe. So I think that anything that's not taken, I'll reach out to her and ask her if she'd like us to mail anything to her. Trying to think if I've forgotten anything. I think that's it. We're going to have food and drink now. Janine, I don't know.
We just have to leave this building and walk straight ahead, slightly to the right, and there will be, there's a caterer over there that is expecting us
Awesome.
with food and drink.
Hey, thank you all. Thank you, everybody.